Hello and welcome to Robinson Hall Experts Talk. Today is the 14th of May and my name's Laura Saunders, Marketing and PR Manager at Robinson Hall, and I have David Cook with me. We are going to be talking about understanding the different types of surveys and when it is important to get one. David Cook is Senior Building Surveyor at Robinson Hall. He joined us in March. He has over 40 years experience as a building surveyor. He has worked on commercial, retail, charitable, blue light and educational estates, working on all property types from historic buildings to PFI estates. Welcome, David.
Good morning.
So, first things first, tell me about yourself and your background.
Okay, I'm a building surveyor, chartered building surveyor now. I qualified some 30 years ago, and in quite a long career, as you've already mentioned. I've worked in all sorts of different environments, including police stations and police support buildings, fire stations, hospitals and secure hospitals, warehouses, retail, and I'm talking about both high street stores and retail park units, listed buildings and commercial office accommodation as well. And in my career, I've been involved in doing not only building surveys and defect work, but also in doing project work, refits, refurbishments, alterations. In terms of the survey aspect, I've done quite a lot of work in terms of roofing inspections and roofing surveys, rot, timber decay, dampness, the sort of typical defects you might get in an older building. And hence trying to inform the way in which we do surveys a little bit better in terms of now that I'm at Robinson and Hall.
Okay, so when is it important to get a survey?
Well, property really is a very valuable asset, an investment. And it's very important to know the condition of that investment. Primarily, the two key areas are prior to acquisition, so what are you getting?
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, during the life cycle, while you're using the building, how's it going on? Is it still operating in the way it was intended to? Is it still in good repair, or are there potential issues looming which you aren't aware of? So just to make sure you keep that building fully usable during the course of its operational life. It helps to identify any immediate and long-term cost risks which could impact on the use of the building, but also, even if not on the use, on what we might call the enjoyment of the building, whether you can make full use of it in the way you intend to do. And also allows for timely repairs to try and nip things in the bud at a fairly early stage. And if buying, very important if you're buying a property, to get an inspection done after the offer is acceptable before you exchange contracts, so you know what you're taking on before you make that legal commitment. And if doing any alterations to the building, before you make any alterations to it, so you can actually scope out the works required properly and know what you're taking on, not get caught with any unforeseen work which might cause you to change direction during the course of the project, causing delays and unnecessary costs. So really it's very important to get a full overview of the property at any stage in the property's life cycle.
Do you find that the surveys that you're instructed to do are generally before someone purchases a building or before they do any work? You don't find that some clients might come to you and say, do you know what, our building's quite old, we haven't had a survey for a while, could you do one? Is it generally before work and before a purchase?
A lot of surveys will be pre-acquisition so that people know what they're taking on. Because it's very important to limit their liability of taking on something that's a bit of a poor condition. But we do find that what you might call a health check survey is very important as well, particularly if they've been there a long time and they're starting to experience defects, problems with the building fabric, and they want to know what's going on so they can start making provision in their budgets to look after the building properly and make sure they keep full enjoyment of it during the course of its life.
Okay, great. So what are the different types of surveys available? You've touched on a couple just now, but if you could go through all those that are available to people, that'd be great.
Well, we start with that one, the pre-acquisition survey, which is one of the primary ones that we do at Robinson Hall. It's a very comprehensive assessment on the condition of a property. If you look at purchasing property, residential property, it equates to the RSCS level 3, what is called a building survey. Mm-hmm. And that is a very comprehensive survey, investigation into the structure, with photographs in the report and recommendations on any repairs that may be needed to be done. It's generally suitable for larger and older properties because of the scale of the survey that's being undertaken, the time it takes to do it. And also they're the buildings that will tend to have more of the issues that you'll want to investigate and get a clear understanding of. But also buildings which may be non-standard construction.
Okay.
So atypical building forms and those that have been significantly altered.
Right. It's fair to say that we don't do level 1 and level 2.
We don't do level 1 and level 2.
No, so if someone is listening and they just want like a standard survey, which is less thorough and detailed, that isn't something that we can offer. But obviously our surveys, as David has pointed out, are RICS and they are level 3. So
They are, yes.
they're
And they,
the most detailed you can get.
yeah, and they will be particularly relevant to grade 1, 2-star or 2 listed buildings, to homes built before World War II, because they'll be old enough where they are starting to deteriorate now. Building fabric elements do tend to deteriorate over time at different rates for different elements, so it can be quite interesting. For very large properties, a very small property probably wouldn't be worth the investment of time to do, but very large properties, buildings with substantial alterations to be made, as I mentioned, and properties where the owner or prospective owner is aware of known defects. So if you're aware of a particular issue with roof defects, with dampness, with timber treatment, with subsidence or anything like that, then that would be where you'd want to go for a more complex survey, level 3 type.
Okay. So that's pre-acquisition.
That's the first one. Then we do a schedule of condition. This is sort of variation, particularly useful if you're looking to acquire a property, and it records the condition of the property before you take it on.
Okay.
So it helps to limit liability regarding future repair obligations. Anyone taking on a lease really should get a schedule of condition.
Yeah.
The other one, which I would mention, is a condition overview report. It's a quicker, less comprehensive survey, more akin to a bit of a health check, and it records the current condition of the primary elements of the building, the roofing, the windows, any damp cores, etc. And also flags up any significant issues which might need attention. So it's a relatively quick but still very valuable way of inspecting a property and giving feedback to an owner. Condition is primarily prepared before a lease commences to record the condition. A condition assessment or a condition overview report isn't particularly tied to a lease. It's just a sort of management exercise or overview that you may want to do if you've got a property interest. So anyone can really get a condition overview report done, lease or no lease.
Okay. That's great.
Yeah, the next one, the building defect report. Again, I mentioned earlier on about any specific defects that you may have regarding a property or any known concerns. This will enable you to get a targeted inspection of those issues, directing attention to the particular concerns you've got. As I mentioned earlier on, damp, timber decay, rot, the condition of a roof, concerns over any cracking, leaning or bulging walls, particularly of interest to those who may have older listed cottages, where we find that movement in stone walls is a fairly common issue. So it's looking at detailing the potential causes and remedies of specific defects rather than a whole building overview.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay. And the last one I will mention for now is the rack inspections, reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete. We don't tend to do many of those, but it's something that we should be aware of because this material was extensively used in both the public and private sector from the 1950s up to about 1990. And because of poor record keeping at the time, it can be anywhere. Any estate can have this in significant quantities, but many people don't know they've got it and they don't know what to do if they do have it. So we can offer a service to identify whether it's in a property and then give advice and guidance on the risk management of that material or any removal and replacement deemed necessary.
Okay.
I would always say if you've got any queries regarding whether you need a survey and what type of survey it is, call us for an informal chat.
Yeah.
We're more than happy to run through the nature of any concerns you've got and see if we can identify the most appropriate and cost-effective survey that meets your needs. We can then give you a fee proposal for the services and also advise you whether a survey may not be needed. And it may be that a quick informal chat helps to address the query for you and a survey isn't the best course of action for you. We don't like wasting clients' money, so a quick chat is often a really good way of finding out whether it's something you need to do or not.
Okay, so we've had a chat and we've decided that it would be best to have a survey. What's the following steps?
Well, once we've established what we think is the most helpful option for you, we'll issue a draft confirmation of the instruction, just confirming what we've spoken about.
Yeah.
The scale and scope of what we're looking to do, and also the exclusions, because they're very important in understanding what you're getting, because there may be some areas we can't get access to. There may be some things we can't open up to investigate, and there may be some testing which we just aren't capable of doing.
Okay.
So we just need to confirm what's in and out of scope so you can see what the package looks like. Um, and then if you're happy with that proposal, we'll agree a slot to come and have a look at the property. And depending on the nature of the inspection required and the size of the property, we'd hope to get a report to you within 5 to 7 working days of the inspection. And then again, once we've issued the report to you, we'd invite you to call us to talk through the report to address any queries, clarify anything you're not sure of, and just make sure you fully understand what's in it.
Okay. So once the survey's done and the report's sent, it's really up to the client to then do with what they'd like with that report, I presume. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we don't get involved with speaking to any third parties or anything like that.
We can do, but the report really is for the benefit and use of the client to do with as they wish. But if they want to become involved in any subsequent remedial works or any project works, then we can do that. If they need us to speak to anyone else, then we can give them have a chat with them about options to develop that and provide more of a professional service along those lines as well.
Yeah.
But initially, the report is a self-contained package, and they can do what they wish.
Okay, that's good to know. It's probably worth saying that if you are looking to do building work, then we do have a service that can help from concept to completion. And we have project management services, so we can manage the work from start to finish, tender it out, etc. So although we offer the surveying as a service as well, if you did want to kind of follow up with that and use us from A to B, then that's something that we can help with. So I'm presuming we've talked about all the surveys that we offer. How can we help? And I guess what makes us different to other surveying businesses on the high street?
We have a very long and well-established reputation for this type of work.
Yeah.
The business is established for 100 years or so.
Yeah.
So we've got a reputation.
About 140, I think 145.
So we've got a long established reputation for doing surveys. We've got a team dedicated to doing it. We are all professionally qualified or working towards professional qualifications. So we have a really good structure in place in terms of how we do these surveys. We are more than happy to speak to potential clients prior to doing any work for them and establishing any instruction to find out what's best for them. We want to work with clients to make sure they fully understand what we can do and how it will benefit them, but also to make sure that we clearly understand when it isn't in their best interests to pursue a course of action.
Yeah.
We are very experienced in a wide range of property types, not only residential, but also other types of property, as we've mentioned before with my own experience and others, in terms of commercial, retail, farm buildings, listed buildings, all sorts of things that we can help out with. I think that's probably it.
And I guess the other point that I've already mentioned is the fact that we are really a one-stop shop. We can help further to the survey as well. So if you do, as I said, if you do want us for any other services like project management or tendering out work, we've also got a design department that can do drawings for you.
Yeah, we can develop a project, we can develop it as a specification for works with drawings and take it to tender, then manage the works on site. So we get the original assessment of the building, which helps to inform the specification and make sure it's the right set of works for that property, and then take it through to completion and handover. So we can do all of that work A to B.
Yeah, which I guess is different because there will be some other businesses out there that just do the surveys and say, here you go.
Yeah, they specialise in surveys. So once you have
surveys only
report issued, that can be the end of their involvement in the project. There's always someone in the office who knows what to do next, or someone who can actually take it on and run with it with us. So you won't be left isolated if you've got a query or a problem on a project.
Should be a huge benefit. Well, you've talked actually about how long the surveys roughly take. I mean, is that generally across all the types of surveys, or do you find that some surveys take a bit longer than others?
It depends really on A, the requirements of the client, and B, the property that we're visiting. I mean, in terms of the time on site, for the more comprehensive surveys, we talked about the level 3 acquisition surveys.
Yeah.
You could easily be on site for 5-6 hours doing the survey, which clearly the client needs to make provision for. And then afterwards, the writing up can take quite a bit of time. So it could take 2 to 3 weeks once we visited and gathered all the information we need to get the report issued to the client. For a relatively straightforward condition assessment, we could be in and out of the property within 1 to 2 hours, and it's possible to get either a simple report or even in some cases, if the client prefers it, a simple email schedule to them within 2 or 3 days. So
Okay.
it really all depends on what the client's expectations are and what they need the information for. But really, typically for a standard report, we'll be looking to issue it out within 5 to 7 days.
Yeah, that makes sense. So what advice would you give to anyone looking for a survey?
Firstly, that it's never wasted money, because knowing the condition of your asset, of your investment, is absolutely the right thing to do. If you need or you think you need a survey, then go to a firm who have appropriately qualified surveyors. And the first point of contact really I would suggest would be the RICS.
Yeah.
Get a list of those who are looking to do surveys. Speak to the surveying firm before you instruct, to tell them what it is you want and have a conversation with them about the services they can offer, to see whether they meet your needs and to see if you're happy with the way in which they approach what you're asking them to do. Check they've got experience of dealing with the type of properties that you are involved in.
Yeah.
Some very, very highly skilled and experienced surveying firms, for example, those who do residential stock condition surveys, will just be familiar with large stock condition portfolios of residential units and may not be familiar with the type of property that you've got. So you need to make sure the surveyors have got experience, because there are so many different types of buildings, so many types of building defects, that you want someone who's experienced that type of property before. So speak to them to find out if they can do that to the level you require. And if in doubt, speak to more than one firm.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt to get a second opinion if you're not sure.
Okay. So what if I'm a client in a position where I think, "Do you know what, I don't think I need a survey. I'm not sure whether I'm going to benefit from it in any which way or another." I know that's the opposite of what we're discussing today. But have you ever been in a situation where someone has done that and then they've needed a survey following because of an issue that they faced?
Yes, absolutely. And often it's what appear to be simple defects, or things that aren't big red flags that catch property owners out. And I've got a background story of a property owner who had some missing slates on their roof. Fairly small issue, relatively modest defect, but clearly missing slates. And it wasn't considered to be that large an issue to deal with. What it did do is allowed water into the roof space for quite a long period of time untreated. They hadn't checked it. They thought it was a fairly modest issue. The water got in and over a period of time wetted the roof structure, wetted the roof timbers and ceiling timbers, led to an outbreak of dry rot, which became quite extensive in the property. And the problem with that sort of thing is, for a relatively modest defect, it can allow all sorts of follow-on issues to arise. And in this sort of situation with a dry rot outbreak, it can have significant implications on future repair costs, because left untreated, the repair costs escalate fairly significantly. But also potentially, it can have a huge impact on the valuation of your property if you're looking to do something with it, because valuers may give it a very low or even zero value if they believe if it has got dry rot in it. So it's really, really important to nip the defects in the bud fairly early, and a quick inspection to identify them is a really good way of starting that, to stop the issues escalating and becoming more troublesome and more expensive.
Yeah, that would make sense. So I guess the message of the day is, if you're unsure, it's always worth getting us out. And as David has already pointed out, if we don't feel like a survey is required, we won't suggest you get one. But even with small defects, there could be issues that are
There could be hidden
unveiled.
implications, and it's always wise to get someone's view who's familiar with these sort of things, just to give you peace of mind, if nothing else.
Yeah,
Feel free to call us for an informal chat. We don't sell services you don't need.
no,
That's not the way we do it. And a quick phone call may prove to be one of the most cost-effective calls you've made.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, David. We've touched on quite a lot. Is there anything else that you'd like to add before we conclude?
No, I think we've covered all of the points I wanted to make there.
Yeah.
All I would say by way of closing is, if you've got a property, it's an enormous asset. You need to look after it and maintain it. It's an investment, and if you've got investments, you check to see how they're doing, and the same would be the case with a property. And if you need advice and guidance, please feel free to get in touch with us.
Perfect. Thank you, David. It might just also be worth mentioning that obviously with the surveys, it's not just pre-acquisition or before work. We can do health checks as well. So if you're slightly concerned about something that you might see on your property, then just give us a call. Thank you for your time, David, and thank you for listening today. I've launched a range of podcasts over the last year nearly, and we've touched on various different subjects. Have a look at our podcast page on our website. They're also available on Apple, Amazon, Spotify. Check them out, and YouTube, obviously. Check them out, and hopefully you'll join us again next time. Many thanks. Goodbye.
Podcasts are for informational purposes only and should not be considered as legal advice. We are not responsible for any losses, damages or liabilities that may arise. The advice and views are from the expert only.